Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Quisha King Show, where we discuss faith, culture, and politics, all geared towards the next generation. I have a very interesting guest for you this week. His name is Craig Long, and I feel like this is going to be a really, really interesting conversation. So let's get started. Welcome, Craig Long.
How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be on your show.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you. So, you and I met in a kind of very, very awkward panel discussion during CPAC. You go ahead and tell your version of what happened, and then I will tell mine, and then we can laugh about it together.
uh, well, I am a bit controversial on a lot of the things that I say. That panel, it was a panel discussion of, things that are taking place in the minority community and
Hmm.
solutions, right?
Yeah.
We were supposed to come up with solutions, but that, unfortunately, there was some things that added up and occurred to where it literally confirmed, which is a lot of stereotypes about you cannot have black folks in the same room. I'm telling you.
I didn't even think about it like that, but you're
Yeah,
right.
man. You
That's true.
cannot have black folks in the same room sometimes, man. And people had a little bit more too much to drink, and there was a lot of going back and forth. But that there was a lot of passion. People had a lot of passion about what
Yeah.
they felt and what they believe and about the minority community and how they can go about trying to help them. So it was very entertaining. And all I can say, if you haven't caught it, you definitely want to go look that up.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm almost embarrassed. So Craig is
I
being
am.
extremely generous.
Keisha, I left that part out. I am. I told myself, they ain't gonna never get me on another panel like this. This
Listen,
is just.
I was really disappointed. Honestly, I was really disappointed in, how everything turned out. There was one character, and I mean, his name was the amazing Lucas, and I mean, he just came in with just this bitter, just I don't know. I mean, just a negative attitude. It seemed like to me he came in not looking to do what we were called to do there to provide solutions, but he looked like he came in to really just sow discord and conflict. Like I think he came up to the mic and he was like, "Yeah, we could be cool, but as long as there's no tap dance." And it's like, first of all,
Hmm.
um, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I'm tap dancing. Like, to me, when people say stuff like that, it's like an attack on your integrity
Hmm.
because just because there's a sentiment that you have to, even on the right, which is
Hmm.
really weird, that you have to believe a certain way in order to
Yep.
really be like pro black, and that really gets on my nerves.
Don't get me started on the pro black, which I'm sure we're gonna go into. But no,
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. I had
Hmm.
no idea who the guy was. Even till this day, I don't know who he is. There's a lot of people that are on YouTube, and there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that are social media influencers. I don't have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
It wasn't until afterwards that somebody said, "Man, that's such and such," and I'm still like, "Man, I don't know who that dude is." The
Yeah.
only thing I know is the lasting impression that he gave me. He was the first person that they asked a question on what is conservatism, and
Hmm.
what is conservatism to you, and
Hmm.
how did you get into it? And he couldn't define it. He tried
Right.
to pass on the question to somebody else, and I thought that was very interesting, especially after all the other rhetoric of what you just said. Him saying he don't want to see nobody. He's just here to make sure ain't nobody tap dancing.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it's very frustrating that because there's people. If we're talking about the minority community, because we get it the most. Well, now we're getting it from white liberals, but we get it a lot from
Yeah.
other black folks.
Yeah.
That just because we don't think like the collective group think does, that somehow we're tap dancing, we're allies to white supremacy, we're Uncle
Hmm.
Tom and
Yeah.
cooning and the whole nine,
Yeah.
and that's not the case at all. So
Yeah.
here he is, and I don't. From my understanding, he used to be a conservative.
Hmm.
To me, that's an oxymoron. It's like, well, it's one thing that you want to change up. I guess the way that he makes content, because it seems that he attacks people like you and I that have a different thought than him. And if
Yeah.
that's his thing, hey, more power to him. But where I'm
Hmm.
conflicted is how do you used to be conservative? For me,
Mhm.
I tell people all the time, I'm a slave to my principles. I call no party my master, right?
I
So
love that.
when it comes to conservatism, the values and the principles, how do you
Yeah.
completely alienate that,
Right.
right? So and I have no hard feelings to him. I don't blame him because he couldn't
Yeah.
even define what conservatism is. So it's
Yeah.
like, maybe he's looking at this in a different light, but I didn't appreciate it. I kind of had a few spats and I took some shots at the person, but
Yeah.
even to this day, Keisha, I don't know who that dude is, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really glad to see, people like you who were there to stand up and give a better perspective of
Yeah,
what conservatism is, and standing up for your principles. I don't know, men tend to just settle the room. They bring real men, they come in, they settle the room, and they
yeah,
they make it tolerable for everybody else. And there were a few of you who came in
that,
and just
that,
kind of like, okay, let's bring this
Keisha,
down and let's
that
get
panel was off the chain.
it was off the chain. Like,
That panel
if
was off
that
the
was
chain.
your child, like if those were your kids, you would like snatch them
I'm
off
like,
and just like beat the hell out of them. Like, it was
I'm like,
crazy.
I was saying security. What
Right,
is going
right.
on right now? So it's
Yeah.
hey, I'm with
So
you.
yeah, it was crazy. But let the people know, who are you? What do you do? Just
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. I'll give a quick synopsis of who I am and a little bit of my background. Um, I got into, I guess I want to say, I got into being a social media influencer. My kids actually encouraged me to go onto TikTok. I've never used TikTok. I'm one of them adults that have no idea how to use the app.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on there and I shared my story one time. And it just kind of ignited from there. But
Mm,
before I was speaking out on my personal Facebook page. And I got a lot of pushback for it. It was at the time during the forced lockdowns. A lot of the stuff that we seen with the supposedly peaceful, mostly peaceful protests,
right.
with all the destruction from burning, looting, people being murdered into the streets, all in the name of what they felt was justice to them, right?
Yeah.
Um, I started speaking out. I said this is poor leadership. Whenever you have people telling people, hey, it's okay to rob a Gucci store, it's okay to rob a Macy's, that's
Yeah.
your reparations. I said, wait a minute. I'm somebody that comes from those communities that a lot of people are romantically in love with talking
Mm-hmm.
about. I'm
Yeah.
someone that made poor decisions that ended me up in the prison. I'm
Mm,
someone that's been in that justice system that they're complaining about. Why would we have people in positions of leadership or on
mm-hmm.
microphones, literally on social media and on media, professing to people, telling them and encouraging them that it's okay to break the law, which will subject them into the justice system that they're upset with in the first place?
Right.
So I started speaking out on that, and that's kind of how I got into social media and influence, and I just never stopped. So
Mm,
a lot of my content is very controversial. I tend to have no cut cards when I speak.
yeah.
I am speaking from my heart. They
Mm-hmm.
say what's in the heart will come out the mouth.
That's right.
Now, is everything coming out my mouth correct or right? No, I'm sure not to everybody, but
Yeah.
to some, they agree. And I realize that how I feel about the things that are taking place in our country, um, and, and and how I feel about the political climate that we're in and the social climate that we're in, a lot of the things that I express in the content that I make,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other people feel the same way. So I just never stopped. But that's kind of how I got into being an influencer. But my background, just to kind of play into what I just said, I come from a military family.
Mm-hmm.
When my mother and father were together, my father was in the military, was in the army, and he ended up getting injured in the army to where he pretty much had to do an early retirement.
Mm,
So I watched a man go from early retirement of a high rank officer in the military to just selling suits and hex. And it
mm,
eventually put a strain on my mother and his relationship to
mm,
where they eventually they got divorced. And then my dad opted to probably what a lot of men do with resentment, being an every other weekend father.
mm.
Now I say that with a lot of honor and respect to my father, right?
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, Keisha, I'm no Bible thumper. In no way am I taking people to church, and that's apparent. But in the Bible, it tells you, thou shalt always honor thy mother and thy father. And I
That's
will
right.
always do that regardless of his resentments and the things that took place between him and my mother. But
Yeah.
long story short, they split. My mother was a single parent mother,
Hmm.
raising myself, my sister, and my brother, doing the best that she could, putting herself through college, putting herself, working several jobs. She was a hustler. She was doing
Yeah.
Tupperware, Mary Kay. She did the best that she could with what
Yeah.
she had. And I just like anybody else, I gravitated to that destructive culture,
Hmm.
which I hope that we can go into. But I
Yeah.
gravitated to that. I steered away from right from wrong. Right. I come from a family that taught me right from wrong. I come
Hmm.
from a family that they were in the church every day.
Yeah.
I mean, my mama was a choir director. My daddy
Hmm.
was a usher. When they
Yep.
would pass out, he would catch them and put that sheet over top of them.
Yes.
So they ended up being
Real
reverends.
deal.
Yeah, both of them ended up being reverends. My father was a children's church pastor, so I grew up in the church. I have that sense of faith, putting God
Hmm.
first, right? So
Yeah.
I grew up with those values. I grew up with values of seeing my father in the military and serving the country and honoring
Hmm.
the country. So I'm someone that comes from right from wrong, but I chose poor decisions, right? I
Hmm.
tell people all the time, we're born looking like our mothers and our fathers, but you will die looking like your decisions.
Hello,
And
somebody.
my decisions led me into prison. I went to
Yeah.
prison because I shot two people point blank range.
Mm.
I could talk about it now because I served my time.
Hmm.
Long story short, I served 6 years day for day. Didn't come home till I was 25. I
Hmm.
had nothing, zero
How
dollars
old
to
were
my
you
name.
when you went to prison?
I had just turned 18.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. I didn't come home till I was 25 with $0 and a
Wow.
paper ID. And I
Mm.
thought that life was hard. When I was in prison and leading up to that, there was points in my life where I didn't think that I would live to see the age of 21.
Mm.
So when I say I was out there in the streets, I was out there in the streets hard.
Yeah.
So, I can relate and I understand some of these communities that people are passionate about talking about. I
Yeah.
understand the ignorant
For
culture
sure.
of it.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
that's kind of my background. Long story short, I'll keep it short now. Once I was released, life began. Eventually, I became a successful business owner. I own a brick and mortar business here in
Hmm.
Florida. I also have other businesses online. Obviously, I use my voice for political commentary. I
Hmm.
talk about anything from life, business, success. Um, and not only have I become successful in business, and I was able to receive all my civil rights back,
Oh, wow.
including my Second Amendment rights. So most
Yeah.
most of
We'll
the time,
definitely talk about that.
oh, absolutely. So that's in a nutshell. That's who I am, man.
Yeah.
I got a
Wow.
heck of a story.
You do. You really, really do. We'll be waiting for the book. So, one thing that I want to discuss that you said, this idea of this collectivism on the right,
Hmm.
that and I've often, people know that Jeff Charles is my boyfriend, and we talk about this all the time. Like, I mean, some things we have you're not going to agree with everyone on every single thing, and there,
Sure.
we definitely have, our areas where we differ. But I've often said that some of these, when you see these pro-black conservatives, or just people who think that if you, you have to believe a certain way
Hmm.
in order to participate in something. To me, what that says is that's still progressivism. That is
Yeah.
still the collective. That is still someone thinking, if you are black, or if
Hmm.
you are Hispanic, or if you are a man, or if you, whatever it is, you have to think this way in
Hmm.
order for you to, be fully qualified to comment, or to, to have your opinion. And it's like, I thought this was like a free speech thing. Like, how come I can't just say what I believe, and you take me at my word for what I believe? And it doesn't mean that I don't love, my fellow man, of,
Hmm.
whatever they look like or whatever. But that, this collective idea, I think that that is so dangerous,
Hmm.
being a conservative, that we bring in that idea, like, okay, well, if you, especially particularly if you're black, that you have to, like, you
Hmm.
have to practice your black conservatism in a certain way. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I'm completely opposed to the pro-black conservatism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's again, it's subscribing to that progressive. As a matter of fact, I don't call it progressive. I call it regressive, because you have to be
Right.
progressing towards something. So I call it regressive thinking.
That's
That is
right.
what's wrong within the minority community in America.
Mhm.
We correlate. We somehow correlate with you're not it's your rite of passage, or those are your stripes, if you're not coming from some form of struggle, if you're not coming from poverty, if you're not coming from
Mm.
being from the ghetto. And that's
Yeah.
not the case. And I always try to encourage people, there is a lot of black folks right here in America that are living very well. Their parents are doing very well in the middle
Yep.
class and even in
Yep.
the upper class. So not all of us come from the hood. Not
Right.
all of us have that mentality of the hood. Not all of us been locked up. Some of
Right.
us has gone to college and
Mhm.
had gotten multiple degrees. Some
Yes.
of us went to the military. So, not everybody comes from being in trouble, getting locked up, coming from poverty. But
Yeah.
we correlate that with blackness.
Mhm.
Somehow, that's our black. We're not black enough, or we don't have the to be in a position to speak to black folks. We have to come from that, and that's not the
Yeah.
case. So I think because they subscribe to that, when they hear other thoughts come in that are like a parent, and I
Mhm.
always have to break it down like this, Keisha, like a parent. When I see my kids making a mistake, I'm not going to pacify them. I have to, critique them, because I
Right.
want them to get better,
Because you love them.
because I love them. Right.
Yes.
Well, that's what's taking place. There's people
Mhm.
that come from other communities that are black in this
Mhm.
in this country that see that a lot of the stuff that's going on is ignorant. A lot
Right.
of the stuff that's going on is destructive culture.
That's
Right.
right.
So when I hear the comparisons of, well, um, you have the Will Smiths, and then you have the what did they say? The Carltons,
The car,
right?
yes.
The
Which
Carlton.
I'm both. I was like, wait a minute, I'm
Yeah,
both.
I'm both too. I'm both too. But there was something someone said on the panel that I really appreciate, and I'm glad that they said that. They said that, look, some of us are the arms, some of us are the legs, some of us are
Mm,
the mouths, the head. We're all part of the same body, and
yeah.
we're all moving out in one function. So
Yeah.
if people can get to that way of to that realization, then maybe we can start moving forward together, working
Yeah.
together. We need each other. All of us are
That's
expressing and moving, and we're all trying to get to one goal.
yeah.
So but I also understand that compartmentalizing myself based off my skin color, which, if
Mhm.
we think about the civil rights and what Martin Luther King Jr. said, it was all about breaking, compartmentalizing people into boxes. Well,
Yeah.
this is you're a woman, you're a this is your sexual identity, you're black and you're white. It was to
Mm.
destroy that and just judge people off the content of their character, right? Well,
Yeah.
black folks haven't really figured it out yet.
Yeah.
They keep compartmentalizing themselves. This
Mhm.
is why we have.
Like separating us out from America. And it's like the more we separate ourselves, it's like we want to be separate, but we want to be included into it. It's like you gotta like pick a struggle. You can't have both.
Right. So it's interesting to me that I get attacked by um, everybody. It's like,
Yeah.
man, and that's fine. I've accepted that since I've continued on with this journey.
Yeah.
But it is kind of disheartening, and it's like, hey, man, I'm not attacking you because I'm just not the same. I'll just keep
Right.
moving out on the way that I want to move out.
Yeah.
So,
For me, so back in 2017, I was discovering right after the 2016 election, I started to read some things about, I guess the common stereotypes like household incomes and Black Lives Matter and all of these things. And I came across Dr. Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams,
mhm.
Milton Friedman, and I had never heard, I had never heard the conservative platform. I had never heard these things. All I knew was Republicans are racist. That's really pretty much all I knew. And after learning about these things, I was sitting on my couch one day, and God spoke to my heart and said that my skin color had become an idol in my life, and that, I mean, Craig, when I tell you, it
That's deep.
changed my it. When I
That
tell
is deep.
it was, I try. When I go and speak, and when I, I'm just talk to anybody, when I share this, I never feel like I'm communicating how much it affected me. It changed everything about my life, like it,
Hmm.
everything. It brought down, I felt like 10,000 pounds of weight had just been lifted off of my shoulders. I felt truly free. And that, it was an offense to God that I would, everything would be viewed through the lens of being Black, and not through, for me as a believer, through the lens of being a Christian. And that
Hmm.
was God. He did not like that, and he made it very clear. And
Yeah,
that you are putting too much stock into, skin. It's going in the dirt. Your soul doesn't have a color. You think that the devil gives a rip about your skin color, about your, he doesn't care.
doesn't
And
care.
when you put so much emphasis into something so, meaningless. I mean, yes, it's a part of my, it's a part of
Hmm.
my biological makeup, but at the end of the day, just because you can see that I'm Black, that tells you absolutely nothing about who I am. And
Exactly.
so, it was
No,
yeah, go ahead.
what you just said was so powerful. It reminded me. There's a guy that has shirts that says, "I'm not Black, I'm free," and I
Mm,
thought that's very profound. And
yeah,
it's a controversial shirt, but he's
for
right.
sure.
I'm not Black, I'm free, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny to me, when you are so hyperbolically focused on just skin color and
Hmm.
my people, my people, my people,
Hmm.
and again, I always tell people, I'm not a Bible thumper. I
Yeah.
no way am I a historian of the Bible. I am a
Uh-huh.
work in progress Christian like anybody else.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting ready to say, if you're not a Christian, then this does not apply to you. I am definitely not casting my pearls among swine,
Hmm.
right? But if you're a Christian, most Black folks, they're raised in the church.
Hmm.
I know that they hold on to a lot of anger, hatred, and resentment, right? They treat white folks as if it's a universal sin, right?
Mm.
Just because they white, somehow it's a universal sin
Yeah.
for an era that they had nothing to do with. So I
Hmm.
know as a Christian that Jesus Christ is he is a forgiving he's a forgiving God, right? I
Amen.
think it's
Hmm.
first 2 Corinthians 5:17. Be anyone in Christ is a new creation, be all
Hello,
things passed
somebody.
away. So if you're a Christian and you stand on that Bible, your God is a forgiving God.
That's
You
right.
have to find it in your heart to forgive, man.
Yeah.
And I just feel that when people play into that whole
Hmm.
notion of I'm gonna do everything Black, and most of the people that say they pro Black ain't even pro Black. They still going down to the Asian shop down the street and buying the weaves and whatever else they got to get for the
Hey, hey,
weekend.
hey, go
You
easy
know what I
now.
mean? The brothers too. The brothers too. They go down and get the wave grease. I was one, so I
Oh,
know.
goodness.
So a lot of us, and I get it. You have a passion for the people that look like you, and that's okay. I agree.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
when you take it to the level that some of these people have, you alienate a whole lot of other people, and you don't realize
Right.
that you are compartmentalizing yourself once
Mm.
again.
Yeah.
And nowadays you have to be careful with pro Black because there's a
Mm.
lot of them. I call them um, Black KKK collective groupthink. A
Hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
them are pushing um, anti-white racist rhetoric,
Yeah.
and that's something that I will never ever be involved with. So, and they don't even know that they're doing it. So,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the unfortunate part.
It's a trip. It really truly is, and it's sad that, especially when you talk about believers, like when you talk. I mean, if you're not, if you you don't stand on biblical principles, but okay, that's you don't. That's cool. But the ones who do, who claim to at least,
Hmm.
and still cannot see it, find it in themselves to realize that they need to forgive, but also that you do things that need to be forgiven too. You don't stand on this side like you just do everything
Oh,
perfect and you are just constantly in judgment of everybody else, and they are the ones that need to be in repentance, or and they are the ones that need forgiveness. Like,
there,
you have to self-examine, because the moment you start, Jesus said, y'all sitting up here, you want to look at the speck in somebody else's eye when you have a log in yours. So
exactly.
it's like it's just, it's humanity. It is
Hmm.
humanity that, we all have to deal with this, but in this space, we do get into this battle with each other, like, black conservatives and I don't know what regular conservatives, I don't know. But yeah, it's been a trip. And another thing that you mentioned, when you're talking about growing up in the inner
Hmm.
city or growing up in rough neighborhoods and things like that, you know what I find, and I wonder if you have noticed this, it
What's that?
to me,
Yeah,
it
tell me.
always seems to be the ones who ain't never struggled, who ain't never lived in a hood, who have
The
never
Shine Kings of
experienced,
the world.
and they want to be the most, oh, you gotta, the hood is this, they give so many excuses and so many,
Hmm.
reasons why, people, particularly black people in the hood that can't succeed, or
Hmm.
what the struggle is. I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit about your background. Well, my parents have such and such and such. It's like, if you talk to people in the hood and you say the same things that we say, they'd be like, oh yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
If you talk to them one on one, they're like, yeah, I agree with that. They don't eat, most
Hmm.
people in the hood do not even, when you really talk to them, they would agree with a lot of the things that we
Yep.
would say. But it's the ones who've never stepped foot in the hood who always seem to think like, oh, well, if you're in the hood, you just,
Hmm.
it's because of something else that dictates you take away the self agency of those people, and they
Hmm.
are, if you talk to them, they're just like, no, you got to be responsible. They don't subscribe to that. But I always find that it's the people who have never step foot in the hood and never talked to nobody in the hood
Every
that have
time.
all of these, they sound like progressives.
Every time they're so romantically passionate about an area they ain't never been to, or
Yes.
you know what I mean. You got a lot of these rappers that's not even from the hood.
Hello.
They just rapping about it. You know what I mean? It happens all the time. It. I wish that they would make the culture where it's cool to go to college, like it used to be. That
Right.
where if we go back in time, it used to be that. If you watch the channel BET,
Mm-hmm.
it used to be they had the teen summits and
Yes, I
or
remember that.
the black college tours. They
Yeah.
used to make it cool to go to college, but
Right.
now it's drill music, it's rap music, it's very destructive. So it's
Yeah.
we have these people, these gatekeepers, these
Yeah.
talking heads of who are supposed to represent people in this country. They glorify the lowest common denominator of our society, the
Yeah.
things that take place there, and they're very passionate about an area they never grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
let alone even go to. So
And would never go to.
would never go to.
You wouldn't be caught dead.
It's a phenomenon, man. It really is.
Yeah, that is always like the I remember when I was I've always been a little kind of feisty, I've always been, a little kind of a
Like,
different thinker. Yeah. But so when I was 19, I was living in New York. I used to sing professionally, and so
oh,
I was living in New York, and I would talk to some of my friends, and they would be like, some of them were like that, and they were like, if you never you have to understand that these
man, I come
kids,
from the
they're
struggle.
trying to get sneakers and stuff. They don't want to be the ones that go to school not looking like everybody else, and so that's why they rob it and steal. And I'm like, they can't, it's a reason why they can't read. I'm like, yo, the library is open to everybody. Like, really, there's honestly no excuse. But they would come, so they were my
Hmm.
friends, so we would go at it. But they would come for me so
You
hard
got to
because
come from the struggle. It's
yes,
like
it was
the
so.
struggle.
I'm just like, listen, if we don't empower people and tell them this does not have to be your life, if you constantly say, oh, yeah, I understand why you had to rob, or I understand why you had to,
That nobody has
why
to
you
do
don't
nothing.
read, or why you can't, you're not literate, and you're just constantly making excuses. How is that helping them?
Nobody has to do. No one has to commit a crime. No one. They always say that. I'm sorry. This is something. This is something that really irritates me. They always say that. Oh, because they're in poverty is why they're committing so much crimes. No
Mhm.
one. Uh, Poverty does not make you commit a crime, man.
Mm,
There. And here's my question to the people that think that way. If poverty makes people commit a crime, then why is there people in poverty that don't commit crime? What separates the two? Is it moral compass?
yep.
Why are there people? There is people that are in poverty right now that do not commit crime.
That's
When I
right.
was
And it's
out there
more
running the
of
streets,
them. It's more people in poverty
that
that don't commit
that don't
crime.
commit crime.
That's right.
They're living their day-to-day lives trying to do the right thing,
Yeah,
raising their families. They
that's
don't
right.
commit crime. So no one made you pick up the drugs and
Mm,
sell it to your uncles and your aunts and
you're
the
right.
people in your community. No one made you pick up guns or go buy a stolen gun and
Mm-hmm.
start gang banging or running with the crew and
Yeah.
beating people up, stabbing them and shooting them.
Mm,
No one made you steal a car.
yeah.
No one made you steal from a store. No one made you angry to
Right.
go out and try to fight everybody. Those are conscious decisions by
Mm.
people, man.
And they
So
can't be legislated, and those things cannot be legislated.
you cannot legislate that behavior.
Right.
It's a moral compass, right?
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. A lot of the stuff that's taking place in America would not be, the stuff wouldn't be happening if there was more fathers in the homes and fathers in heaven.
That's
But there's people out here, they don't want religion, they don't want faith, they don't want to
right.
believe in God. So what
Yeah.
is your moral compass? If faith is not your moral compass, because that's what most people, it's their moral compass,
Yeah.
to put God first and live a righteous life the way
Right.
that God put set in place for us to do while we live on earth. So if you don't believe in that, what is your moral compass?
Yeah.
Is it law and science? Well, we see that now, Keisha, that people are defying even science. They're defying
Mhm.
the law. We can
Mhm.
keep passing laws. Oh, it's against the law to break the law. So
Right.
you can't legislate that
Morality. Yeah.
behavior.
Well.
You
Mhm.
can't transform an entire police department and how police manage people with no moral compass,
Mhm.
no
That's right.
sense of law.
Yeah.
You have no moral compass, no sense of law, and you don't even want to follow what science is.
That's
How do
right.
you manage that? You
Yeah.
can't. You
That's
can't
true.
manage that.
So speaking of that, what was it that led you into, where you came, face to face, where you were able to pull the trigger on another human being twice? Like how did that happen?
Well, that's a good question. So
Mm,
I always have to distinguish the people's the individuals that I harmed at the time, which I paid my dues. I'm very
mhm,
sorry for them. I affected their lives.
mhm,
Um, One of them has been killed since then. You know, they continued to live that path of life. One of them got their life together and went off to college.
mm,
These people were degenerates at the time. We're talking
mhm,
about, I've been involved with drive-bys, you name it,
mhm.
fights, shootings. I mean, the whole nine. I've lived it, and I'm not saying it to like it's a stripe on my shoulder or a
Right.
bragging rights. I'm actually ashamed of it, and I wish
Mhm.
I didn't go down that path. If I could go back and change it, I would.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's just my story,
Mhm,
right? It sounds cool. It's very wow. It's very interesting.
mhm,
It's such a from ashes to glory story right now.
mm,
That's fine. Your story may be different, and someone needs to hear your story. So I encourage you to tell your story.
mhm,
But what led me to that is, these people were involved with a drive-by that took place of where we all hung out, and
mhm,
the encounter took place where we caught them slipping. And why I pulled the trigger and why I took those actions is honestly ignorance, misguided. I was misguided, and I didn't have a vision of a future for myself, which
mm.
is why I understand some of these people that are in these areas making stupid mistakes over and over and over.
Yeah.
Um, a lack of
Hope.
a lack of knowledge of people will perish. A lack of vision of people will perish.
That's right.
At the time, I had no vision for myself, man.
Mm.
People go to college. How? My mother and father can't pay for me to go to college. How was I going to go to college?
Yeah.
I barely got through school. I barely got a high school diploma. I had
Yeah.
to go to alternative school just to get a high school diploma, and I
Mhm.
barely got that. I pretty much slept half the school year while I was in class.
Mhm.
Everybody knew I was the trouble kid. So what do you mean college?
Yeah.
How? I've had friends, they went off to college, and we they set it up for us to go visit them. And I thought, wow, this is cool, man. I would love to have my book bag and go to college and be
Yeah.
smart and right. Well, at the time I had no vision for myself.
Yeah.
I You have to realize I left home at the age of 16. My mother begged me to come back home. I came back home for a short period of time, and then I left home again.
Mhm.
17, I was living on my own with me and my partners at the time. We were all in an apartment that none of us were old enough to even legally rent out the place, and we
Wow.
were selling drugs 100 miles an hour. So it's like, at the time, I had no vision. All I knew was the next sale, to make rent,
Mhm.
buy the latest shoes, get the
Mm.
latest gear, drive
Mhm.
this car with this loud system, and try to pick up girls.
Yeah.
I did not see any future. All I knew was I always had to constantly look over my shoulder.
Mhm.
People that I was beefing with, this person over there got shot, that person got stabbed, they're upset, they may retaliate. It was just a very stressful post-traumatic lifestyle,
Yeah.
post-traumatically stressful lifestyle.
And so
So
you were like you were a teenager when all this was you were
I
doing this,
was a
right?
teenager. I was a teenager. I was a
Yeah.
teenager.
That's
Yep.
heavy.
I had to learn how to shave and everything in prison. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So for you to go from such a I mean that's traumatic for
Yeah.
a child. I mean cuz even though you're a teenager, it's still
Hmm.
trauma. That's traumatic
Yeah.
to go through. I mean to live that lifestyle and be involved in the dope and
Hmm.
just guns and drugs and what it eventually led to. That's trauma. Like that is a
Yeah.
traumatic experience. A lot
Hmm.
of times though, God will use those things that the enemy tries to use for bad. God will turn it around and use it for his good.
Hmm.
And so it's like, it's like a Moses story. Moses was, Moses did a lot of crazy stuff, but God, he is a, incredible
He's an
historical
awesome
biblical
God.
figure. What's that?
God is an awesome God.
Yes, he is.
You
All of
know,
the time.
you,
Yes, he is.
it's something that you just said that sparked me to make sure I want people to understand this, Keisha. My past is very interesting, but while I was in prison, I had to make a conscious decision to change.
Mm.
Doing time, because prison is nothing but an extension of the community that you just left from making poor decisions. They're doing the
Ooh,
same thing while they're in prison.
wow.
You damn near know everybody that's in prison. I
Mm.
made a conscious decision to change. I don't want to talk like this no more. I don't want to look like this no more. I don't even want to think like this no more. I don't want to look
Mhm.
upon myself or the world in this lens anymore. Kind of like yours, where
Mm.
you had this epiphany, like, I'm idolizing my skin color too much. Well,
Mhm.
for me,
Mhm.
I said, I know I'm living wrong.
Yeah.
I'm better than this. And it took a person, which it's an amazing story. He's out now. He was my workout partner while I was in prison. He
Mhm.
was an older guy. He ended up serving 30 something years, but
Wow.
before they finally paroled him out. But he put a particular book in my hand. It was called The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And
Mm.
in prison, I'm like, this is rhetoric. I don't want to read this. I'm not getting all. This is not Malcolm X. I'm not about to be doing final causes and reading the Quran,
Yeah.
because in prison you have all these different ideologies
Yeah.
and religions, and I just didn't
Mhm.
want. I don't want to get into it. But I respected them over time. I said, man, I went on and I started reading the book, and it changed my perspective
Mm.
of who I am. And I realized that I am a descendant of people that were geniuses that taught
Mhm.
the world. They ran the world, Keisha.
Yeah.
They taught people irrigation, astrology,
Mm.
mathematics, writing, how to
Mhm.
put undergarments on, season their food, you name it.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I said, man, you know, I am not acting, this is not who I am. So I decided to change.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I never looked back. If you were to ask me, do I see myself doing the things that I'm doing now? I could not make the mental leap. I couldn't make the mental leap. And
Yeah.
and I just wish that I can encourage other people out there to get the message, man. You
Yeah.
may not agree with what I say. You may not like who I am. You may not like my delivery. But my
Mhm.
message, if you really take the time to get the core to know who I am, my message will empower you. It don't matter what color you are.
That's right.
When you understand that you are in America,
Mhm.
one of the greatest countries on the planet, and the
Mhm.
opportunities that we have,
Yeah.
right? When you understand it, then you begin to start taking advantage of those things.
Right.
I'm no different than anybody else. I have
Yeah.
the same 24 hours in a day as anybody else.
That's
But
right.
what separates me, what makes my story, because they always love to say, "Oh, well, you're an anomaly. You're an exception to the
All
rule.
right.
That's an anecdotal experience." And
Mhm.
I used to fight them on this, Keish, and say, "No, no." And I used to fight them on that. People can do it. I embrace it now.
Mhm.
I am all of those things. And
Mhm.
my goal is to teach you how to be an anecdotal experience, how to
Mm.
break
I love that.
away. and separate from the collective groupthink.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to be that way. You can separate as an individual and live your life path differently. As I said earlier, we are all born looking like our mothers and fathers, but our decisions will determine how our outcomes will be. We will
Yeah.
die looking like our decision. If
That's
you
right.
die of high blood pressure because you didn't take care of yourself, if you die from diabetes because you didn't exercise and eat healthy,
Yeah.
if you out there living thugging and you get shot down in the street, if
Mm-hmm.
you are non-compliant and you are assaulting police officers and grabbing tasers and you get shot, it's unfortunate, but your decisions will determine your outcome from a negative standpoint, while also in a positive. If
That's
you someone
right.
said, you know what, I'm not going to have sex until I get married.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to
Mm-hmm.
church and I'm gonna put God first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna live a righteous life. I'm gonna treat people how I want to be treated. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna judge somebody because what they did to black folks in the 1800s,
Yeah.
and it's 2022. I'm not gonna judge
Right.
somebody because they white. I'm gonna go to school and get my college degree. I'm gonna get educated. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start that business that I always wanted to start. So until you
Yeah.
can come to that epiphany and realize that you're an individual and you don't have to think like the collective group thing, that there is
Mm.
nobody on the 13th floor holding you down,
Mm.
collaborating on you, that there is no white supremacy, white dust floating around that you can breathe in, or why you got bad behavior and why you fail, then you will start to begin to the opportunities that God has for your life right now will
Yeah.
start to open up when you start taking steps towards that.
Yeah.
But if you want to live your life as a victim, then hey, don't condemn me because I'm different than you, because
Right.
I ain't no victim. I'm a
Yeah.
victor.
It is amazing how many people want you to feel like a victim. It's almost like a badge of honor. It's like if you don't feel like a victim, then you're really not, I don't know,
You,
you can't
you're
possibly be
whitewashed.
genuine. Yeah,
You're
you're
whitewashed.
whitewashed, or you for some reason like you can't just stand in your own agency and say, I reject the idea. When I look back over my life, there is no way that I could possibly look at myself as being a victim when I see all of the amazing things that God has done in my life. Like, how disrespectful is that for God to bring you out? Because life has no respect of person. Like, everybody is going to go through some kind of struggle. I don't care what doesn't matter who you are. Everybody has
Hmm.
some kind of struggle. It's part of humanity,
Yep.
and it's like it's disrespectful to God to look over your life and to see where he has brought you from and the opportunities that have been before. Most of us at some point in time had some way to make a different choice, and we
Hmm.
turn around and we say, yeah, but I'm still a victim. Like, that's disrespectful in my
It's
opinion.
it is disrespectful and it's sad. It's almost like a curse. It's you think if I was a victim, if I subscribed to the victim mindset, that I would have got my civil rights back? Do you think that if I subscribed to that way of thinking, that I would have got my
Right.
Second Amendment rights back?
Right.
No, because I'm not. I broke away from that, and like you said, it is very disrespectful to God in God's eyes. It's like, you don't you're addicted. You're romantically addicted to
Suffering.
struggle,
Yeah.
suffering, and
Yeah.
I want you to live an abundant life. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to choose love. I want you to choose life,
Yes.
not
And
death.
life more abundantly.
That
Yes.
not death. You know what I mean? I want you to choose life and life more abundantly.
Yeah. All right,
So,
Craig, for not a Bible thumper, you sure do know some word now.
man, man, don't get me persecuted, man. We know those Bible thumper conservatives out there, man. Woo.
Listen, people can say what they want to say about, Christianity, but you show me another faith that has liberated more people. You show me another
There
God
ain't none.
that you can trace throughout history. Even atheists know that Jesus walked the earth. Come on now. I mean, like, this
Yeah.
is for this particular faith has proven itself. So I mean, people can say what they want to say, but I'm not, and I will not apologize for being a Christian. That's a story for another day. But
Yeah, but even with that though, Keisha, there's black folks. Oh, Jesus was they lied and blah blah. They denounce Christianity because their anger, hatred, and resentment towards white folks. But if you know anything about African history, Christianity stemmed from Africa. it
The
comes from the
garden
people. It
was
comes.
in Africa.
It comes from people that you claim that you're so romantically in love and
Yeah.
passionate for. So
Yeah.
why are you denouncing something that stems from you? I'm like, when you know you. So we'll
It's a
digress
trick of
on
the
that.
enemy, truly. It's a trick of the and I think that is why it was so important for God to get to for me to be delivered from that mindset, because
Yeah,
when you think like that, you can't see the true and living God. You can't see
you
him.
can't.
You can't. You cannot see truly what he's doing in your life. You can't see truly the opportunities that he's placing before you. You can't see what he's trying to do because you're so stuck in black and white. So how can you truly worship? How can you
You
truly,
take
you
them to
know,
church, Keisha. Take them to
but
church. I
I'm
mean,
just saying, it keeps you in bondage. It is
it does.
bondage. And then another
Moses
thing,
couldn't even get them to the promised land.
hello, it's
They
a
gripe
struggle
and
to get
complain.
people, to see truth. It is, it's been a struggle
It's
since,
called it's coveting. It's just a lot of coveting going on.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
and it's holding them in bondage, man.
it is
It is.
bondage.
There is a lot of people
Yes.
in bondage in
And
this
but whom
country.
the sun sets free is free indeed. And I'm here to tell you that I live my life as a free spiritually and free naturally. There is,
All
you
right.
cannot pay me to reject this freedom that God has given me. And
Mhm.
it has been the most wonderful thing that has happened to me. And I want to this is such a good conversation. I knew it was going to
I'm
be.
I'm good. Hey, I'm fine.
There's another thing that I wanted to touch on that you said when you brought up it being a curse, because another thing that God revealed to me during this process of deliverance, he was telling me that when I speak these things over my life, this
Hmm.
victimhood and this being black, all of these things that you tell yourself, and you speak it over your children, you are cursing
You are
them.
cursing them.
You are cursing them. You God, he is not, do not get it twisted. God is not,
Don't profess that over my life.
hello.
And
Are
some of
you
them saying, we all got family members that are in disagreements, and they are a part of that collective. They be
yeah.
talking about some Craig. I'm gonna pray for you. I said, don't pray for me. Cast those spells somewhere else. Don't pray for me. I don't
Right.
need you casting them spells on me.
Mm.
I have broke away from that. Oh, because you black, you got to work even harder.
Oh
Man,
yeah.
everybody got to work hard.
Hello.
Everybody's faced with challenges.
That's right.
Keisha, I always tell people life and business are like the changing seasons. You're going to go through winter, spring, summers, and falls throughout your whole life. It don't matter
Mhm.
what color you are. And the one thing that I learned about this country in America that grants all people of all ethnicities, shades of color, whether you
Mhm.
big, skinny, tall, or short,
Yep.
it don't care what color you are, what any of your creeds or what you believe in.
Mhm.
Success is always looking for a new home.
Hello.
Success don't, it's a universal principle that don't care about none of those things. All
That's
it
right.
cares about, are you putting in the work? Are you learning new skill?
Mhm.
Are you
Mhm.
applying yourself and then
That's right.
bringing value to the marketplace?
Yeah.
Period.
That's it.
Period. And I
Yeah.
believe that's what God wants us to do anyway. If we
Absolutely.
open up our minds and our hearts, maybe take the veil off people's eyes and they can wake up.
Yeah.
Because the same thing that I know. You don't nothing stop me.
Hmm.
I went to prison for shooting two people, point
Mhm.
blank range. Point blank range. I got my Second Amendment rights back.
Mm.
I have the right to keep and bear arms, buy ammunition, the whole nine.
Wow.
Do you know how many people try to profess that curse on me and say, "Oh, you black, you a felon, man, you ain't gonna never get your guns,
Oh, I'm sure.
man, you can't do this. White folks ain't gonna let you do, man. When we get our man, redline and did this to us, man. When you buy this house, you think I'm gonna subscribe to that, man? Nothing
Mm.
stops me in this country. No one is
Yeah.
above me. I either look at you as my equal. You're not gonna put me in no inferior position.
Thank
Don't
you.
don't nothing stop me.
That's right.
I am a man of God. I
That's
am walking
right.
in faith.
And if
You
God
gotta
be
have.
for you, who can be against you? You know, when people go around and they talk about, Jesus and God, and they have all this stuff, and then they'll be like, well, but the white people. Okay, wait a minute. Either God
See,
is who he said he is,
you're gonna
and
get me
he made
started.
you more than a conqueror, or he's not. You cannot be, on Sunday, God, you're the God of all, and you can move mountains, but Saturday through Monday, you oppress. It don't work that way. Pick a side. Either he is who he said he is, or he's not.
You're gonna
Period.
get me started. You're gonna get me
And I'm
started, man. It
that
don't make
is
sense.
it don't it
It
doesn't make
doesn't make
any
no
sense
sense,
at
man.
all. It doesn't make it. You know what? It's double-minded. This is another thing that God revealed to me. He said, he literally told me that, how am I God on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday you oppress? Either I am who I say I am, or I'm not. And he said that is double-minded. And you know what the Bible says about a double-minded man? He is unstable in all of his ways. That's what the
Uh-huh.
Bible says. A double minded man is unstable in all his ways. And it makes perfect sense. You see all
That's.
this chaos. You see
Hmm.
all of this, these things going on. And if you talk to the people who are participating in the chaos, you will see double mindedness. Double
Double
mindedness.
minded.
On one hand, they want to be like, oh, God, you're so great. Or, ain't nobody better than me. I can do this. And then they turn around and they're like, well, I'm a victim. Well, what about what white people do? One more thing before we get into your getting your Second Amendment rights back. I cannot stand when people, particularly Black folks, who this is just because these are the people who typically say this, when they will be like, "Oh, the white man ain't gonna let you." Ain't gonna let me? Are you like what?
But Keisha, they say we bojangling, we tap dancing.
You have lost.
You the one that's upholding somebody in the massa position.
Thank you.
They're the ones that are stuck. They're stuck.
I can't stand it.
Don't
Ain't gonna
nothing
let me. I,
don't nothing hold me back.
the righteous anger that bubbles up inside of me when I hear somebody say the white man ain't
Man,
gonna let you. You tried
man.
me. You tried my entire life. Like I wish I would be walking around here worried about what a particular group of people would think about me. That is just so annoying. Anyway,
It's a lot of coveting going on. They got
it's
a lot of
it's it's a
coveting.
lot of food. It is. It's a
It's
lot of mess.
buffoonery.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, gosh, this hour is flying by. Okay, why don't you tell everybody how in the world were you able to get your Second Amendment rights back? Because you're Black and you were a convicted felon. How did you do
Yeah,
that?
I'm Black, convicted felon. I got tattoos, and I hit all I'm every statistic that you can think of. No,
Exactly.
really, I just had audacity, and because I changed
Mm,
and I have the gall and the way that we think, like, no, I don't think the system is racist.
mhm,
I'm gonna do what the system says to do.
mhm,
I'm gonna put time in between me. I'm gonna be a good citizen, and
mhm,
then I'm gonna hire a lawyer and I'm gonna petition the court and try to get my rights back.
mm,
And through that, I was able to get my civil rights back, which gives me the right to be able to vote,
mhm,
do jury duty. I can be a notary. Um, Pretty much, I've been restored as an American with a
mm.
background. And then
Wow.
I just took it another step forward and I said, now I want all my rights back. I want the
Mhm.
Second Amendment rights. So I got in trouble in Virginia. So I have to say this: it is important, depending on what state you got in trouble.
Okay.
If you're someone that did get in trouble, um, it does matter what state you're in. Which,
Yeah.
if we go political, we all know that we know what party is the party that right now is trying to take your guns.
That's
So they're
right.
not necessarily in favor of you trying to get your Second Amendment rights back.
Right.
But I could easily say the same thing about the Republican Party as well.
Yeah.
So depending on the state, that could really hinder you trying to get it back. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's impossible. There's
Right.
still other states that will allow, like if you got in trouble in Illinois,
Mhm.
it might be very difficult for you to get it back, but you can
Mhm.
still live in Texas and still, be able to purchase a firearm if you go through the
Mm.
necessary channels
Mhm.
to get that right to be able to protect yourself at the home.
Yeah.
So, for me, I just had the audacity to
Mhm.
not accept the status quo of this is going to be my life, Black, felon, and all these other statistics.
Yeah.
I chose to defy that. And the
Right.
system is based off of a balance scale. And
Mhm.
the judge, which was a white man,
Mhm.
he
Mhm.
hit that gallot and he said, I'm granting you your rights. He
Wow.
says, and these were his exact words. This is why the system has a balance scale to
Mm.
show if someone can show that they've changed their life around,
Mhm.
they should have another chance to have their, another
Yeah.
chance. And then he started with this because I didn't think that I was going to get him. My lawyer said it's a 50-50 chance. And then I
Mhm.
had violent crime, so it makes it even more difficult.
Right.
He said 30 years ago I was a prosecutor and I had to prosecute this man. He's talking this particular guy,
Mhm.
and the guy got locked up. He had to prosecute him. He said 30 years later, now I'm a judge, and I had to judge upon the same guy that I once prosecuted 30 years ago.
Mm.
He says some people get caught up in the system, and it's just an evolving door. It's a cycle of
Mm.
them continuing to keep making the same decisions to keep leading them back into the system.
Yeah.
He said your story is exactly why we have this balance scale.
Mm.
If a person can show that they've completely transformed their life, by all means they deserve to have their rights back. Boom.
Wow.
So
That is
there's a
incredible.
there's a lot in what I just said.
Yeah.
The key is stop making the same decisions and then blaming it on other people. No
Mhm.
one forces you to commit a crime. No one
Yeah.
forces you to act ignorant. No one forces you to not treat people how you want to be treated. Whether you come into contact with a person of authority that's in a police, a law enforcement position, and you
Mhm.
feel you've been wrongfully pulled over, there is no need for you to act ignorant and
Right.
cop an attitude. Be
Right.
treat the person how you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, I forgot how they said a calm answer can turn away
Yes.
a calm answer turns away wrath. I know
Wrath. Yeah. That's the Bible. Yeah. The word.
it's not exact worded that way,
Right.
but basically that's what it is. A
Yeah.
soft answer would that's it. A soft answer would turn away wrath.
That's
And
right.
I just wish that more people could learn that
Mhm.
in this country instead of just
Mm.
copping straight to attitude and
Right.
creating something that's not even there.
Yeah.
And I really wish that and I know I don't know if you're pressed for time because I could talk all day. If
No,
we need to do this
no,
again,
please.
Keisha,
No, go ahead. I have some time. Yeah. I would go
I
ahead.
I really, really want to hit home on this. I think that we have a crisis in leadership. I am someone that truly believes that um, everything rises and falls on leadership. And right
Mhm.
now, we have people in positions as if they are the leaders of certain people in this country, black folks, that
Mhm.
are poor leaders, man. We have to have the right leadership, and the right leadership is not with a politician. It's not with the talking head that you always see on your favorite channels.
Right.
You know what I mean? The leadership starts with you as an individual,
That's
you
right.
as a man or a woman, because that's all
Mhm.
there is, a man or a woman.
That's it.
Your leadership starts with you as a
That's right.
father, as a mother. Be
Mhm.
the light, be the leader of yourself.
Yeah.
And then if you create a family, be a leader to your family.
Yeah.
Teach them, protect them, show them the way on how they should walk life.
Mhm.
These attitudes, these ignorant, angry attitudes aren't getting you nowhere. And our
Yeah.
leadership is not saying anything about it. They're,
Right.
they're, they're, they're actually condoning and further fanning the fumes
Yeah.
of a lot of the behaviors that are destructive, that are really undermining a lot of people in this country.
It's so true. Did you see, and I know you probably have, you saw that video that came out of those little boys. They were like, I don't know,
That,
2,
that,
3
that was
years
so
old
sad.
that were like cursing and fight and like hitting at the police officers. I don't like to watch a lot of the police interactions. So I really don't even like to, it just, disturbs my soul. Like I don't like to watch that stuff.
Yeah.
But I did see this one and I just, you know,
They say racism is taught in the home. That might not be
I know.
racism, but it's ignorance.
It was definitely ignorance and indicative of bad leadership because you can just imagine there is no way these little kids learned that behavior and that disrespect for police other than their home. I mean, it's
Yep.
obvious they're not school aged, they're not old enough.
Their
They don't-
proximity.
th- that is where they got that. And I mean, when you are 2, 3, 4 years old, and that's how you're behaving already, like
Sad.
if someone or something does not intervene in these little boys' life, like what they will be those little boys that
They're,
do not have hope for their lives.
they're setting them up for failure.
Yes.
They're setting them
Ugh,
up for failure, man. I'm not going to get on black folks as Messiah, Barack Obama, with the statistics and the things that he's already
The
said in his
crowning
speeches,
prince.
the crown and prince. Um, a lot of these kids with this, I refer to the music as suicidal poetry on a good beat. A lot of these kids at this young age, there's a little like them little babies that was out there with that profanity and that
Mhm.
foul mouths that they have. Back in the day, my mom and them used to make me bite a bar of soap, and that was their
Mm,
way of washing out my mouth if I
yeah,
dared. Right, and I don't know, it's lost now. Those traditional things are gone now.
right. Oh, yeah.
A lot of those kids can literally verbatim repeat and sing rap songs
Mhm.
that is nothing but suicidal poetry. But then when you need them
Wow.
to read, they can't even read at the grade level that
You
they're supposed to
cannot
be
read.
reading. Can't
Yeah.
do math. That ain't white folks doing that. That's
Mm-mm.
parenting. That's something going on culturally.
Yeah. There's
Culturally, we are it's something that we need to change.
yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
man.
And I don't want people to think, because I can just hear it now, like, oh, you just want to bash black people. No, it is not that. We
No.
always talk about that, black and brown people are at, the bottom levels of these statistics. Okay, so we're addressing that group of people that are at those levels. So regardless of what color the person might happen to be, these people, it happens to be black people. So I just wanted to say that we're not, to me, I don't see it
Yeah,
like that.
but I
I
mean,
see it as we are talking about a problem, a pervasive problem in a
yeah,
community that needs to be talked about. I
it
don't,
needs to be
that just
talked
gets on
about.
my nerves.
It's funny when they'll get into your DMs or under your comments under your content, and they'll say, "Man, why don't you highlight this?"
Mm,
Well, why don't you highlight it? And
okay.
why don't you highlight and go to those other people's page and condemn them on
Yeah.
their anti-white rhetoric that they push, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, when does it end? When does it end or when does it begin? We
Yeah.
have to highlight these things, and the statistics add up.
Yeah.
They always compare things to white folks. Well, let's look at the statistics of white folks with nuclear families, right? The number is growing within their community as well,
Yeah.
and over time it will affect them. But they still have more family units intact,
They do.
right? Their
Yeah.
Messiah Barack Obama already told them if single family homes, what the statistic is of you
That's
living in a
right.
single family home, you're
Yeah.
five times more likely to so 5 times more likely to living in poverty
Mm-hmm.
and committing a crime, 9 times
Mm-hmm.
more likely to dropping out of school, and
Mm-hmm.
20 times more likely to go into prison.
Yeah.
If we look at the statistics, it's right in our face. So it's
Right.
not bashing anybody. We're talking about what we know we need to change.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have good parts of our culture as black folks in this country? Yeah. We have
Absolutely.
parts of our culture where we've influenced the world. Of
That is
course.
right.
Of
Yes, and the history of Black Americans is incredible. When I went on Dr. Phil, there was this guy up there, the expert that they
Yeah,
brought
yeah.
on, and he was like, basically, it's slavery, red line, some civil rights, and but we're still oppressed. And I'm like, Black Americans are the most successful Black people in the entire world.
In the
How about
entire
we
world.
start showing these little children, telling that part of the history? If you are constantly telling children, you ain't never going to be nothing, this country's never going to allow you to be anything, I'm sorry, what do we expect to be produced from these kids who have no hope? Because that is exactly what you're telling them, that they are perpetually stuck because you can't change being Black. So if Blackness comes with, poverty, oppression, and, no opportunity, they're going to look in the mirror and think, I am stuck. And that is infuriating because you are giving what you're selling to these children, to young
Hmm.
people, is a lack of hope. And if you do not have hope, you cannot
Hmm.
wake up in the morning and see opportunity, which I think that's what you were saying. You couldn't wake up and see opportunity because, for, the things that you had told yourself, the things that around you probably that had influenced the way you were thinking. And it
Hmm.
is just such a disservice that we do to human beings when we, especially when they're kids, because they are so vulnerable and they're such a sponge, and they will hear these ideas and internalize them. And what do
Yep.
you think you're going to produce? But if we told young people, young Black people in particular, that Black Americans, yeah, we started as slaves, but the progress that we made
Hmm.
was phenomenal. It was acknowledged around the entire world
Yep.
that We went in 100 years from being literally ignorant and backwards and not being able to, to be illiterate, to 40% of us knowing how to read. That's almost half.
Yeah.
And creating businesses, creating, Black Wall Street, and other predominantly Black successful
Hmm.
communities. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Ke-
We should
Ke-
be asking that question. What did
Keisha,
they do?
Keisha,
Sorry.
if they want to teach, about the history with slavery, that's fine. But make sure you teach them that no matter what parts of time we had successful people, and
That's
that they
right.
should adopt those philosophies and mindsets and grit of working hard and applying themselves and being self-reliant
Yeah.
and respecting themselves and building families, as some of them did, like Booker T. Washington.
My favorite.
When Booker T. Washington died, he had the equivalence of today would have been almost $74 million.
Wow.
The guy was multimillionaire in a time
Frederick
where they
Douglass
were going.
too.
Frederick Douglass too, at a time where they were dealing with real racism. And then
Yeah.
we can fast forward it to today. No matter what type of oppression or how the history of this country started off, we
Mhm.
have an immigrant that's black that comes from another country, that comes into America and now is worth $3.4 billion.
Mm.
Rihanna. I mean, so what
Yeah.
we can go, no matter where you go,
Mhm.
we have the representation. We
Mhm.
have successful people all around us. They're doctors,
Mhm.
lawyers, business owners. They're in political positions. They're
Yep.
police chiefs. They're police officers. They're at the regular market down the street.
Yeah.
We're everywhere.
Mhm.
When does it stop? That
Right.
hey, uh, we can pretty much do what we want to do,
That's
but
right.
why are people still investing in keeping this thing going, as if we are oppressed in this country?
Mhm.
When there's a lot of people that are even the people telling me that we're oppressed are very successful. After a
Hello.
while, you have to start asking yourself some logical questions.
Mhm.
So, but we could talk about it all day long, Keisha.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean that these are things that people need to hear. People need to hear another way to look at this story, another way to, analyze life. And it doesn't have to be just, looked at through one perspective that has been, beaten into you. Like it's
Uh-huh.
okay. You can think something else. You have the right to do that as a human being. You can your skin color doesn't think, it does not form opinions, it doesn't reason. It is simply, to me, it's like it's a way that God showed his variety. We have different levels
Well,
of melanin. I
let
mean,
me
whoopsie doggone do.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Keisha, and for those that are watching or will be listening,
Mhm.
what color is your mind?
Free.
Right. If we ask any of these people, what color is your mind?
Mm,
The brain. What your mind? What
right.
color? What color is your spirit?
Yeah.
Our spirit ain't no color. Our mind ain't no color. This is just a vessel.
That's
This is
right.
our vessel. So I'm not
That's
going to
right.
be entrenched and compartmentalized through a veil of looking at everything. Oh, his vessel's white and that vessel is black. I'm a spirit and I got
Mhm.
my own mind and they ain't got no color. And I
That's
look at
right.
the next man. All throughout world history, there's always been good people and
Mm,
evil people.
yeah.
If you have so much anger, hatred, and resentment towards white folks for the atrocities that took place with their forefathers, which no one is trying to downplay, we know the
Yeah.
things that took place. There were still good people in those times.
Yeah.
A lot of these dashiki wearing people that run
Mhm.
around here talking about they pro black African. Why don't they talk about the white pirates that were freeing slaves from the slave ships?
Mm.
Why don't they talk about the white folks that sacrificed their freedoms, their family, their
Hello.
lives, that were teaching us how to read, write, and everything else? What
Yeah.
about those abolitionists? What about the
Mhm.
Juneteenth abolitionists?
That's right.
Juneteenth is not an exclusive holiday to just
Mhm.
black folks. There
That's
was white
right.
abolitionists that helped get that stuff on this way because there was
Yeah.
good people and there was evil people. So
Yeah.
people have to get out of this whole that person's that color, that person that, oh, what they did to my ancestors. It's
Mhm.
a grudge. It's holding you back.
Yeah.
It
I
it,
mean,
it
because
really
quiet,
is.
yeah, quiet as it's kept. Like, if Black people had no self agency, which was very true at a point in time in America,
Mhm.
who were the people passing the laws to take to remove those things from society. White
Hello,
folks. There were some.
hello,
I mean, there were white people that literally hung right next to black people because they were
hello.
fighting for freedom. So you. That's why it's disrespectful. It is disrespectful to the struggle of those slaves to now say, like, no, I want you to judge me by my skin color. Oh, I want to look at you, and if you are white, you are automatically an oppressor, because I mean, it is just disrespectful to the American story. Yeah, we got scandal. It's a good story. We got murder, scandal, slavery, prostitute, all kind of stuff. It's the story just like any other human story. But this country was built on Judeo-Christian principles. It was
Mhm.
built on Judeo-Christian principles. Even when you were talking before about when you were saying you need you can have a different way to look at something, and you can, I forget the exact word that you use. It just reminded me of how the Bible talks about renewing your mind. You can these the judge and the prosecutors and things, those, our laws, our constitution is built on second chances, which comes, that's a biblical principle. You go try to do that somewhere else.
Yeah,
Go
but
go go try to
yeah,
get
yeah,
that same
yeah,
kind
but
of second chance somewhere else.
yeah,
I
but
will
Keisha, they
always.
didn't write that Constitution for black folks. They ain't write that Constitution for black folks. They ain't look at us as humans when they don't say nothing like that. Those people that wrote that Constitution were before the times, man. They did it based off biblical principles, man. They had a sense of moral compass.
That's
They
right.
knew that they needed to end something that's been going on in the world for since the beginning of times, man.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
something that no other country did,
Yeah.
and it took a little bit of time, but look at where
Mhm.
we are today.
That's right.
Look at where we are today, man. So,
Yeah.
and they're gonna get mad at me for saying that, but it is what it is, man.
Well, it's the
And
truth, and
it is,
people
but
will get mad at the truth.
they don't look. They didn't look at us as not as human either. It just tells me that they're not educated on the 3/5 compromise.
That's right.
So we don't have to go into that, but I think we both
Yeah.
all know, and I think most of the people that some people are going to disagree, and that's fine. But I think overall, what we talk about today it was very empowering, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I think
Absolutely.
we should have this more. You know what I
We
mean. More people
should.
should do this more.
We definitely should. One more thing. You are huge on TikTok. So I have not. I re, I refuse to download TikTok, okay? Because I'm like, it's China. I'm not gonna comply. But I mean, there are times I really want to, and I still haven't done. Why have you oh, you said your kids prompted you to get on TikTok. Do you ever feel any kind of like, ugh, because it's China,
Yeah,
do you
it,
ever
it,
feel
it
like,
it's a very very biased app, and it has a lot of toxic people on there. But I
mm,
use it as a tool. It's a tool to reach
mhm,
people that are on that platform,
mm,
and I slowly swish and funnel them to the other platforms to
mhm.
where I can reach them. So I just use it as a tool,
Okay.
an outlet to get my message and voice out there to people that need to hear it, so that they can
Yeah.
share it to other people and let them know, like, look, you're not alone.
Yeah.
There's other people that feel the same way you do that may not
Yeah.
look like you, right? Or to empower people, like, hey, it's okay to break away from that way of thinking.
Mm,
You may not agree with, and you know what's funny, Keisha, like you said earlier, if we catch a lot of these people in a one-on-one, they agree with what we're saying.
mhm.
But because they're in that collective groupthink a mindset,
Yeah.
they have to come at us.
Yeah.
But if you catch them on a one-on-one, a lot of us they agree, they know what we're saying is right.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know what I mean? Think
Yeah.
about it. When we was kids, we ain't like getting whoopings. We ain't
Okay.
like getting punishment when we was in trouble.
Right.
This
Nobody
ain't
does.
no difference.
Right.
Hey, I am
Yeah.
the voice here to challenge your status quo. What I'm saying is not sweet to your ears. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I think there was a passage where it says the messenger will not be welcomed
In
in
his
his own
own
community,
land. Yeah,
in
a
his own
prophet is
land.
not welcome in his own land. That
A
is
prophet
so
is not
true.
a prophet is not welcome in his own land.
That's right.
Keisha, when they bash us and they don't like us and they try to ostracize us, it's because we're prophets are, and I'm not saying that we're prophets, but you know what I'm saying
Mhm.
metaphorically,
Yeah.
we're not welcome in our own land.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the truth hurts, man.
It does.
It's
It's
sweet.
hard.
They like the sweet to their ear message. I
Yeah,
think
the lie.
there's a
Yeah.
proverbs about what's sweet to the ear.
Mhm.
Ecclesiastes. There's a time and a place for everything.
Mhm.
They
That is
Our
true.
message is not sweet to the ear, so you
No.
of course you're not gonna like it. It'll make you
Yeah.
shake and you can't stand still.
And not to, I mean, to keep going down that line of, when of what the Bible says, Jesus said, I came to bring a sword. I came to divide. I'm trying to decipher who is who. I am separating the wheat from the tare. I came to draw a line. So
Yeah,
this whole notion, like that, that, well, if Jesus, he would be welcoming of everything. I'm sorry, I'm not welcoming everything. I
nope,
can recognize. You have to be able to recognize the lie so you can reject it. You don't have to welcome in lies. Like, this is absurd. And
yep.
the Bible talks about that. No, I came to bring a sword. I'm separating who's who.
Who is who?
Who?
Who? Well, he also said, "I'm the head and not the tail."
Hello.
I am the head and I am not the tail.
That's right.
I am
That's,
up and I ain't down. Let
that
me tell
there
you
is
that.
a difference. There is a difference.
It's a mindset. It
That's
is a
right.
big difference. But when
Yeah.
you ain't living like, if you ain't living right,
Yeah.
you still in that fog.
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying. You're basically about TikTok. You're like, okay, you got to go to where you can't always talk in your echo chamber. You have to go into these places where people
Oh,
disagree with you, so you
you go.
can perhaps persuade some people.
Whew.
So I understand that.
There is a lot of people on that TikTok that will, because TikTok pushes it to everybody. They push it to everybody. If you think
Okay,
about it, Instagram just kind of pushes you to people that like the type of content you like.
right.
TikTok does it too, but their algorithm will push it to everybody. You're going to
Wow.
get people that disagree with you. They call them stitches, duets, and they're going to be
Okay.
rebuttaling what you say, arguing with what you say. It's very toxic,
Mm-hmm.
but it is one way to sharpen up your skills
Okay.
you know what I mean? But
Oh, all
yeah,
right. Maybe I'll try
you
it.
use it as a tool,
Yeah.
It'll grow very
Okay.
quickly. I'll give you some pointers as well.
Okay.
I think mine is close to almost 500,000 people on TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, do you make if I mean, I don't know if you want to, we
I don't
can cut
mind.
this part out of you if you want, but do you make money from TikTok too? Or
Well,
can people make money
that
from?
you can. They demonetize me though because
Oh,
of
okay.
my message. So after a while, people reporting your page, and that's the toxic part about what I'm
Mm,
referring to. They'll demonetize you. So I've been
wow.
demonetized. Maybe they'll give it back to me. I don't know.
Okay.
But
Wow. Well, you have
so
certainly made an impact
let
over
me
there.
say this. I think Instagram just started with some type of bonuses for reels. A
Yeah, I
lot of
think
them
I heard
say,
that
"Oh,"
part.
a lot of people always say, "You grifting." I do not make a single dime of what I do. I think I just started doing making some bonuses from my
Mhm.
content,
Yeah.
but it's not to say that it's wrong to for what you do, the work that you do,
Right.
should be able to take care of you at some point.
Absolutely.
So that's
This
not
is a
grifting.
lot of work. People don't
It
understand. It is
is a
a
lot of work.
lot of work.
It is,
Yeah.
man. So
Yeah.
I'll say this for the people listening, and I'm sure you'll go into your closing. I appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch and listen. All of our contents,
Hmm.
even just as putting liking it and commenting,
Yeah.
sharing it. You know what I mean? It goes a long way. We appreciate
Yeah.
our voices wouldn't be escalated to where they are today if it wasn't
That's
for
right.
the people that take the time to watch and listen. So I'm
Yeah.
very appreciative, and I will never take that take advantage of that. I won't
Mhm.
take it for granted at all.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Craig. This has been a great conversation.
Mhm.
I appreciate your voice in this space. I appreciated you that night back in Orlando at CPAC. I appreciate you being bold and courageous, and we need more people, more leaders to be bold and courageous. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find all of your content and anything else that you have going on?
Yeah, I'm gonna be more so on YouTube. You can find me at Craig Long 45. That's pretty
Okay.
much all my handles is Craig Long 45.
All right.
And I don't know if you'll put the link in there, but
I
you
will.
can
I'll
put the
put all
link
your
in
links.
there.
Yep.
And that's mainly where I'm at. I mean, I'm just look up Craig Long 45.
Okay. All right, Craig. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into another episode of The Keisha King Show. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on YouTube. And if you are listening through our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating so we can continue to share this message. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.
This time. Are you ready? Are you ready to get down?